truth is that our policies and those of other free nations resurrected China's failing economy only to see Beijing bite the international hands that were feeding it. We opened our arms to Chinese citizens only to see the Chinese Communist Party exploit our free and open society.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo slamming the Chinese government just hours before Beijing moves to shut down the U.S. consulate in Chengdu in retaliation for the closure of their consulate in Houston. Let's bring in Ian Prior. He is former Department of Justice Deputy Director of Public Affairs. I would add to all of that also this report that the U.S. Justice Department said on Thursday that they believe that a Chinese researcher from the University of California, Davis, who is accused of hiding her ties to the military, is taking refuge in the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. What do you make of all of these facts? How should Americans interpret them?
That's a great question. And, you know, when I was at the Department of Justice, the National Security Division was in my portfolio. Now I work with a group called 5G Action Now, which is also very concerned with the Chinese threat. And the one thread that we have here is that no matter what we're talking about, whether it's corporate espionage, whether it's embedding Chinese agents in our universities, or whether it's allowing state-controlled companies like Huawei to build out 5G networks all around the world, China is a major threat to American national security. And I applaud Secretary Pompeo for his speech yesterday. It was excellent. It's time that Americans realize the insidious threat that we get from the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, one person who might disagree with you is presidential candidate and former Vice President Joe Biden. Here's what he said in May.
We can do all we need to do without punishing anybody. China is going to eat our lunch. Come on, man. They're not bad folks, but guess what? They're not competition for us.
So that was May of 2019. Do you think he's changed his point of view, or do you think that that point of view is accurate?
Well, that sounds like Joe Biden's point of view. Now, I'm sure that when we get into, today, his point of view as he communicates it to the American public will be very different. But the fact of the matter is, everyone from Great Britain to the United States is realizing the threat that China poses. And I think in large part it's because of the handling of coronavirus. But if you look just, I think it was last week, where the United Kingdom rescinded its decision to allow Huawei to build out its 5G networks. They kicked them out. So the people are starting to realize, not just America, the threat from China. And if Joe Biden doesn't, then he's not qualified to be president of the United States.
In light of all these things going on, do you have any hope that we will have any sort of a trade deal with them, in the next few years, even as his hostilities continue to rise? Do you think the economic relationship will further deteriorate from here?
Well, that's not really clear right now, but I think it is interesting. I believe Pompeo said this yesterday, that you can push back on China. For years, we have not pushed back on China, and they have continued to gain ground, and we have ceded ground. But now that we're pushing back, we will see how far China is willing to go. They need us. They know they need us, and we are pushing back, and President Trump and the administration is pushing back. So will they come to the table? It's going to be interesting to see how that works out.
Ian Prior, thank you so much for your time. John.